Man, I love games, all sorts of them. Board games, video games, mind games, not mind games. Parlor games, dexterity games. I think I might be games. I don't know what that means. What's up, folks? You've got Rob from Terror at Scifi, and today we're going to go through and look at some horror board games. I've got a decent-sized board game collection, and a number of those are horror ones, so I decided I'd go through and take a look at some of the ones that I own that I like the best. So I picked 5, and I'm going to go through starting with number 5 that I like a lot, and going down to number 1, which is going to be my favorite of these 5. So let's go through and I'll tell you a little bit about them. Coming in at number 5 is You Are The Maniac, which is a 2 to 4 player card game where you play as a slasher movie villain. And you're basically, there's different tropes from all different slasher movies and a lot of cards where you'll be collecting masks and weapons to take down different groups of kids and different groups of victims in these types of movies, stereotypes of those in general. So you'll have like the jocks, you'll have like the goth kids, you'll have the suspects, or like the red herring characters. So as you go through the game, then you also, after you do that, you try to kill the final girl of the scene, and you go through that 3 times. Some of the really cool things about this game, I really like that it's, well, first of all, let's start just with the packaging. It's in this VHS style box, which is pretty cool. You can tell they really loved horror movies when they were making this. And it's pretty intuitive to play once you start playing it. A little bit confusing at first just to get all the rules down, but it's not really that complicated. I have to be honest about one thing about this game though, is that it stole this game completely from a game called Guillotine. This is just a reskinning of that. They just kind of put slasher movie stuff on those cards. So yeah, I think they got in trouble for that too. But it's kind of like, well, look, it's kind of like if you go to the store and they have like the white American cheese and the yellow American cheese. Like the yellow looks more like the cheese, so you're gonna pick the yellow and it's the cool, or maybe you pick the white because that's got like less preservatives. Anyway, you get to pick one in this. 6 months into YouTube and I'm talking about cheese. You Are The Maniac is clearly the cooler version, so there's that going for it. Coming in at the number 4 spot today is the Resident Evil deck building game. So you've got a Resident Evil game, yeah, it's got the franchise licensing on there, and you get to, it's a deck builder game as it says in the title, and those who are not familiar, there's a lot of other games like it, like Dominion is a big one, some other ones like Hero Realms that are pretty popular. So this is a game that's like that, where you start off with a small hand of items, and you're basically using those to purchase better items and to get yourself stronger and build your deck of cards up as you go along. The thing that makes this one a little bit different is, on top of just the Resident Evil look of it and the theme of that, there's also you're killing enemies in this too. So it's basically you're going to be trying to get the most points by killing enemies against other players that are playing before the strongest boss is killed in the game. So yeah, this is a pretty fun game. All the items and weapons and characters that you know from the game are in this. The one thing I don't like about it is that it does kind of looks like it was a little bit of a rush production. They have things from all different games in the series, and like sometimes it'll be art that they made for this game for it, and sometimes it'll be like just a random cover from like one of the games. So the cards aren't exactly consistent in that way. But that aside, it's like I said, it's a fun deck builder game. It doesn't bring anything crazy new to the table here. But again, if you're gonna have a deck builder in your collection, it might as well be this Resident Evil, because it's Resident Evil and deck builders are fun. It's like with the cheese thing again. With the cheese thing again. Wasn't even that funny the first time. All right, no more cheese jokes, I promise. I didn't say I wouldn't eat it. Wow. This tastes old as fuck. Coming in at the number 3 spot today is Camp Grizzly. And Camp Grizzly is also an homage to 80s slasher movies, just like You Are The Maniac is. Except in this one, you're playing as the counselors trying to get away. Camp counselors trying to get away from an unkillable killer. So the objective of the game is to, there's like 5 or 6 different scenarios in the game, finales in the game, where you will be getting different items and collecting them from the different cabins in the game in order to get to a different finale. So one of them might be that you have to get the car and get a car battery and gasoline and keys. And then there's a car-themed ending. And then you have a chance to whether or not you make that ending. So throughout the game, you can't kill the killer that's running around. And he's like a very stereotypical 80s slasher. He's got a bear mask on. And he's got this claw that he goes and he chases people with. So yeah, as he kills more people, he actually gets stronger and faster. So you want to try to get out of there as soon as possible. And the object of the game is to play together to do that. But if one character's got items and the other one doesn't, and they want to leave without them, then that's up to them. So it's can get a little bit cutthroat at the end too. This game is a lot of fun. The cards look great. It's got a very cartoony style to it, but also a dark cartoon style. Very much a love letter to 80s slashers, and just a great time. The only negative for this game for me is that when you get to the finale scenario, they're kind of weak because they're based on like die rolls, and it's like a chance of whether you're gonna win or not. And that's it's a little too chancy for me. You played the whole game and then you're gonna do this based on a die roll. You can easily change that if you want to. But yeah, like I said, just tons of fun. I've heard people complain about it for that. I've heard people complain that it's not as complex as some of the other games in this. Well, you know what? You can go pound salt. Yeah, that's right, go pound salt. That's a phrase. That's a real old phrase. It was like a New York City thing years ago. Look it up. Coming in spot 2 today on the list is Horrified. Horrified is a game based on Universal monster movie monsters, and you play as villagers that are working together cooperatively for a 1 to 5 player game, and you're trying to protect other villagers in the town and meet end conditions to either get rid of or to peacefully resolve the monsters in the game. One of the coolest things about this game is that all the monsters attack differently and they all have different end conditions. So for example, Frankenstein's monster and Bride of Frankenstein are always trying to meet together, and if they get on the same space together before you've gotten enough items to be able to raise their humanity level, as if you were working on them in the lab, then they're going to meet together and be violent, and they're going to cause havoc in the town. So you want to make sure that level's all the way up, so that then when they meet, they can meet peacefully and understand humanity, and that ends their segment. With the Wolfman, you have to get a vial of a potion and fill it up by collecting items, and then you have to administer that to him so that he can get away peacefully and not have the curse of the lycanthrope anymore. And then with Dracula, you have to smash all of his graves and all of his coffins rather, and then you just grave him. You just smash all his beds and then just fuck him up. But to be honest, Dracula's kind of a dick, so. Horrified is well deserving of the number 2 spot on this list today, and only one game was able to top that. And at the number 1 spot on this list today is the Night of the Living Dead board game, the Zombicide game. For those unfamiliar, Zombicide is a series of board games. They are all based on zombie outbreaks and in which you have to survive those cooperatively. Now this is, of course, the Night of the Living Dead themed one, and oh man, is the theming great. It just oozes Night of the Living Dead. Again, they got the licenses for this. Actually, I don't think you even need licenses because this is a public domain movie. But they credit George Romero with it, and they use the characters, just like they look in the movies. The models look great, the little miniatures, and all the things that happen, all of the missions in the game. You play from mission to mission. They are all very thematic to exactly what happened in the movie. If not, slight plot twists on that, but very much fit in that universe. The gameplay is just a lot of fun, and it keeps the sense of you are trying to keep away from these zombies before they grow into giant hordes when they become more dangerous and they're slowly creeping towards you. There are 10 scenarios in the game, and I think there's one bonus one online that I haven't played yet, but I went through these 10 scenarios really quick, and they range from things like board the house up to keep the zombies out and, keep them at bay, to, finding the keys to get the truck, to then taking the truck and getting it to the gas pump, and different things like that that happened in the movie. In this game, you'll always be playing with all 6 characters from the movie, and it's a fully cooperative game, and so that means that if you're playing with 2 people, then one person will control 3 characters, the other person will control 3, or 6 people, you'll do 1 each. So whatever it is, you're always playing with all the characters, and it's kind of a strategy thing in that way of how they're going to work together. One of the cool things about the characters is that each one has 2 versions, and the one is the Romero mode one, which is the black and white version, where they're not really working together as well, and they're a little bit weaker. And then you have the Zombicide version where they're learning to work together and they're stronger. So very cool, also very thematic with that. Like in the movie, the characters don't work so well together, and that's part of their ultimate demise. And this is kind of like, what if they would have worked together, and how would that have worked out? Sorry about the spoiler, if you haven't seen. It's like 50 years old. It's over 50 years old. If you haven't seen it, that's on you, all right? You should go see it now. You really should. Nah, you're cool. You've seen it. Better have seen it. You've seen it. So that's the list for today. What did you guys think? Have you played any of these games before? If not, I hope I gave you some recommendations of some cool stuff to check out. Otherwise, what did you guys think of the list? What else would you add to it? As always, thank you guys so much for spending your time here with me, talking about this kind of crap, and I'm sure we'll be doing it again because I've got plenty more board games. So thanks a lot for joining, guys. Okay, so go pound salt when you say that to somebody means that they wouldn't know what else to do with their time any better than just sitting there and just like literally pounding salt. Like, it's such a stupid phrase. I guess that's what I think about people who don't like Camp Grizzly as much as me. That doesn't seem right. That's not right, but it's such a stupid phrase.